Well, hello everyone, and welcome to today's presentation. We have a great conversation planned today centered around balancing efficiency and quality in D2C customer care, something I think pretty much every custom company struggles with, at least to some extent, especially around the busy season, Black Friday, Cyber Monday, and as we get into the holidays. Before we hop into the Q&A, some quick introductions. My name is Chris Keene. I'm the head of marketing here at Zowie. And I'm super excited about our amazing guests I have joining us today, Wendy Brenner from Saucy. So Wendy, you want to hop in and just introduce yourself quickly to the audience?
Yes. My name is Wendy Benner. I work at Saucy, and I am the Associate Director of Customer Operations here.
Awesome. As I mentioned, super excited to have you join us today and share some of your expertise with our audience. Before we get into the nitty gritty of the conversation, would love to just hear and have you tell the audience a little bit more about your background and how you ended up where you are today.
Sure. Where I am today pretty much got here through being in customer service. Almost every job I've done has been customer service related to some extent. So just a lot of experience. I came, previously from about 6 years experience as an office manager at a mobile pet grooming company. So I was able to kind of find a great opportunity with Saucy, room for growth, able to kind of move my way up with my experience, and I've been super fortunate, for that.
Yeah, and can you tell us how long you've been with Saucy and a little bit more about the company itself, and what makes it unique? What are you guys selling? And more there.
Yeah, so Saucy, I've probably been here for about 3.5 years.
Mm-hmm.
You loved every minute of it. But what we do, we're an on-demand alcohol delivery service. So obviously we deliver alcohol, but it's like a convenience store. So, cigarettes is really popular, snacks, ice cream, basically anything you can find at a liquor store. We partner up with liquor stores. So basically their menu is our menu. So you can place an order on our app. It's Saucy, iOS or Android. That's SAUCEY, or online at saucy.com.
Amazing. And tell us just a little bit more about your day-to-day there and what makes Saucy unique, if anything in particular.
Yeah, I think this company is so unique just because of the people. I know that might be cheesy to say, but I truly believe that, the people make the company. So it's been really great to kind of work here. So I think that's something that's kind of unique about us.
Amazing. I like to think Zowie's in a similar boat of the people making unique. So shared values there.
I agree from everyone I've spoke to. I agree.
Awesome. All right. I think we've set the stage well enough. I think we can get into some of the heavier stuff. So let's do just that. First of all, so obviously you've been in customer care, customer service for a while. Maybe you can talk a little bit about Saucy's philosophy towards customer care. What's at its backbone? What are the goals, and how does it play a role in the company's overall strategy?
Yeah, so let's see here. Saucy's philosophy towards customer care, it's pretty simple. We say that we're customer obsessed. It's even in our leadership principle. I think one of the first principles is, obsession with the customer. And simply put, that means, in anything we do, we're keeping the customer in mind and the customer experience in mind. That can be easier said than done, right? It's really easy to just say, oh, we're customer obsessed and everything we do is for the customer. Mm. It's another thing to kind of actually, put that into play and live it every day, you're working. It can be really easy to kind of get focused on other things. Cost, for example. I know times are tough, so a lot of companies are really focusing on cost. So just need to make sure when you're doing that, you're keeping your end goal in mind. The backbone, of course, is our customers. But really what I think kind of holds us together as a team is having those leadership principles. We created some new CS principles. We have our mission and vision statement, and all of those kind of together shared with the company keeps us on the common kind of goal, towards that customer obsession. So, no matter who you are in the company, what you do, what problem you're trying to solve, you can refer back to those principles that we have and kind of know how to proceed.
Yeah, I think you touched on something important, like being customer obsessed. I think a lot of people will say that, but it's one thing to say it and another thing to put it into action. I love that idea of principles. I don't know if you can share some of those and an example of one, just so people get a sense of how you might think
Yeah.
about creating their own principles and bringing that to life. I think that's really
Yeah, I don't have them memorized.
interesting.
But let me see here. I think I jotted one down. I know that, or like basically one of the one of the CS principles, and I don't have it verbatim, but the idea is, as a company, like we're not perfect.
Mhm.
We're human, so it's like be human. If a mistake happens, kind of own up to it, and take care of the customer as if it was like happened to you, kind of thing.
Mhm.
So yeah, I don't have the exact saying, but that's the kind of idea behind
The
one.
gist of it, though, I like the spirit of it.
Yeah,
That makes a ton of sense. And I think, being customer focused and an obsession with the customer, I think brings us right to the main point of the conversation, that balance of efficiency and quality. I think something every customer demands from online businesses today. So, obviously this is your focus on a day-to-day basis, and it's no easy task to balance these in customer care. Like I said, I
yeah.
think it's something everyone struggles with. So first of all, I'd love to just know, how do you measure these two areas, efficiency and quality care of your teams? Like key metrics, OKRs you're reporting on to make sure you're actually delivering on these. So like, let's start there. Um,
Yeah. So for efficiency, I mean, obviously it kind of depends on what we're looking to be efficient at. As a company, for CS particularly, we're really looking at the ratio of CS tickets or cases to completed orders. Um,
mm,
that's something that we've had a major, it wasn't always a major focus. But since the pandemic, we, like any other business, have had to adapt. We had really, really high volume, when COVID hit. So we were fortunate to be one of those companies that was thriving because everyone wanted
mhm.
alcohol. But the cracks in our system definitely were bigger cracks than they were before. So we weren't able to handle the ticket flow with all the orders coming in. I mean, we just had like hundreds of backlog. But anyways, so yeah, that's been a really major one that we're focusing on as far as efficiency goes. Is yeah, how many tickets are we getting? How many orders are we getting? So if you
Yeah.
have just simple math, 2 tickets, 4 orders, not good. You're talking like half of your customers. So and honestly, we were pretty high, close to that ratio.
Yeah.
But we've been able to get it down a ton, which is great. Let's see, and then quality of care. You know, we take feedback from our customers. So we will collect CSAT, customer satisfaction surveys that we send out to any customer we talk to. Of course, we have NPS, Net Promoter Score. That's kind of for the company health. We have feedback just like after your order. You'll kind of be able to rate how that experience was. So we take a lot of feedback from the customer. And that, I think that's ultimately like the best thing you can do is listen to your customers. But we also are looking at feedback as far as monitoring ourselves. So internally, kind of looking. So we QA our team. Really, really important. If you're not QAing your team, I think you should be. It is really, really helpful. One, to obviously make sure that your company ideals and the way you want your team to be operating is in line, but also just to have that connection with the employees, to have that kind of constant feedback is really great for them as well as for you. So for QAs, we'll pull like a handful of tickets every month, and then we give them a criteria, kind of score them, share that feedback. That way we're making sure we're maintaining our quality, with it internally, as well as getting the feedback kind of post customer experience.
Yeah. So a lot of really interesting and insightful things in there. And so to follow, and I love that last point of like QAing the team internally. I think that is sometimes can get overlooked. But going back to, I think the tickets per order is a measure of efficiency. You would definitely see that being more of like a North Star for teams. And you briefly mentioned this, but I'm curious, if you guys have like a target for that, is there like a benchmark? Does it move over time, or is there kind of like, we want to get to one number and kind of have it stay there, and we know
Yeah.
that it should be there over time? Or I guess, yeah, what does that look like in terms of how you
I
set
mean,
it?
as small as possible, right?
Right.
Like we don't even, don't need anyone or one person in the office, and it's fine. But no, I think more realistically, we would be really, really thrilled and happy with like a 10% kind of ratio of tickets to
Mm,
orders. I think we're a little higher than that right now, but we've been able to really, really kind of chop it down since we've started this initiative. So yeah, I mean, I think around 10, the less the better, but we understand that, you're always going to need to speak to a human. So it shouldn't be zero. We want it to be as low as possible, because obviously if a customer is reaching out and you're having to talk to customer service, then something's probably not going great. So, as much as we can help the customer be able to kind of be self-sufficient in the ordering process, pre, mid, or post as possible.
yeah, that makes a ton of sense. And moving on to like, I guess, a more philosophical point of view between, efficiency and this quality, which you've now talked about. There are obviously trade-offs between the two. And to your point, there probably is a lot of stuff that's out of your control around how many tickets are coming in, whether it be product related, new product launches. And you probably have a lot of opportunities to increase efficiency on a day-to-day basis, from different tactics, tech, different things you can do with your team. So I'm just wondering, as someone who's so focused on this, how do you weigh that efficiency versus quality? How do you start to make decisions that you think could improve efficiency, but you think might hurt quality in the end?
Yeah.
Any specific decisions come to mind, I think would be super enlightening if you have any.
Yeah, it's a really fine line. It's like I said earlier, it's really easy to just kind of focus on one thing, like, okay, we need to get these tickets down, and do everything you can to get that ticket down, but the ticket ratio down, so maybe you're turning off, your texting, or you're shutting things down and making it harder for the customer to reach out to support, or get their problem solved, and that's what you don't want to do. So it really is a fine line, and you do need to consider all of those things. And coming to those decisions is not like just a black and white thing. You have to, again, our principles, we got to live by them, review them as much as you need if you are kind of wondering how you should proceed. But I mean, for me, it's just like, put myself in the customer's shoes. I am a customer, many places, and it's funny working in customer service. I'm sure a lot of people can relate, but when you have a poor experience, you're like, oh my God, like why is it this way? Or why didn't they respond this way? Like, that's not how I would do it. So a lot of it, personally, is I'm putting myself in the customer's shoes.
Yeah.
But of course, monitoring our KPIs, making sure, CSAT feedback is positive. NPS, if you see NPS, we tag our NPS. If we see a lot of particular complaints about, lack of ability to reach customer support, or things like that, then you're like, okay, maybe something wasn't done super great. But monitoring our cases, case reasons and sub reasons, QAing the team. I mean, all of those things that I kind of mentioned, is you have to kind of monitor all of them, keep them all in mind to make sure you're staying, on that fine line.
Yeah. It's funny, as you were saying that, as a consumer myself, that customer care is so important, whether or not I come back. I'm curious, as part of that QA process, do you ever incognito go through your own customer care? Something we see happen from time to time.
I should. I should. No, I mean, I reach out as a customer to my team, and of course they know my name, so they're like, amazing. But no, kind of like a secret shopper thing. I really should.
Yeah. Gotcha. And so you mentioned kind of constantly monitoring these KPIs, key metrics, QAing the team. It sounds like you constantly have an eye out for new opportunities. I wonder, what's been like maybe the best way you've found to like identify areas to increase efficiency? Like, is it just something kind of problems come in until something is breaking, or it just becomes to a point where you can't ignore it anymore? Is there kind of a more proactive way that your team has of doing this?
I mean, I'm not gonna lie, we've definitely resolved things because they broke, which is, you want to avoid that, but it happens inevitably. The biggest thing that has kind of been, or I guess the thing that's helped us the most identifying what we need to kind of attack to help this, is monitoring our cases, our case reasons and sub reasons. We previously didn't have like a real CRM or customer relationship management, kind of system for our customers. It was very, fragmented. We couldn't look at the customer as a whole very easily. We didn't have good kind of reporting. So making sure your reporting is there at all, and then even having like a really solid kind of reporting system is super important, because the feedback from your customers, feedback from them or what they're writing in about is so important. You need to be able to see, every week, if not even every day, we're looking at the case reasons and sub reasons, and if we're seeing an uptick in something like an ID scan issue, then we're like, okay, maybe that release we did last week didn't go so well, so we need to take another look and see why we have like a 10% increase in ID scans this week, things like that. So yeah, once we we had a kind of big migration into a pretty mainstream CRM. Once we did that, we were able to really just kind of drill into what our customers are reaching out about and kind of just like knock them off, kind of go down the line and reduce it there.
Yeah. And you started to go into what I would kind of start to think of as like the voice of the customer. So like really listening to these tickets, like where the complaints coming in from. And it sounds like you're doing this, but are you using that customer feedback to drive, product improvements in from other part of the business so that you can start, using that frontline tickets to actually improve other parts of the company aside from just the care you're able to deliver? And if so, like, what does that look like at Saucy? Because I think that's such a powerful yet sometimes underutilized
and to be honest, that's something that we haven't really tapped into yet. It's probably been this year, so almost a full year now, that we've really been focusing on reducing the tickets and being more efficient as a team. But we're in a good place now, so we are going to kind of shift our focus and see how else we can kind of look at it and see what the customers are liking. We do have other methods that aren't necessarily from our CRM, but yeah, that's something that we'll be tapping into coming up probably on the next year.
Yeah, we definitely hear a lot of people talking about like a strategy to have that in place on a regular basis.
Yeah.
But switching gears a little bit, and I think you mentioned this at the beginning, obviously COVID and the pandemic changed like the business reality for a lot of online businesses, e-commerce business, such as like Saucy yourself. It kind of changed the trajectory you guys are on. And I think you guys are continuing to grow. How are you planning to keep efficiency and quality at the same levels they are now through continued growth? Like, how have you achieved that to this point? And then, looking forward, is it like a hiring thing? Is it, more technology, efficiency improvement? Like where are you seeing continued success coming from for you guys?
One of our big focuses, of course, like I said, was looking at the cases and the case reasons and those kind of things. And so I think we were able to tackle a lot there. As we continue to grow, we want to make sure the company, obviously continues to grow, but we don't want to have to add a new agent, for every market that we open up, for example. So we do want to, make sure we can kind of keep the team as lean and efficient as possible, while continuing to experience a lot of growth. For us, the big kind of thing we're looking at there is making sure the customer can be, as self-sufficient as possible. Maybe their order didn't arrive or they got the wrong item. Like, it would be really great for the customer to have some sort of like portal or kind of area in the website to kind of resolve that issue without as much CS intervention as we would need today. But yeah, so customer self-service is what we call it.
Yeah.
So we have, lots of little things we're doing to kind of, make it so the customer can handle things themselves. And a lot of times customers prefer that.
Yeah.
They don't want to have to text in or email someone, wait to get back. Like they want to just take care of, whatever they need to take care of, cancel an order, themselves. So that's our big goal, to make sure that we can kind of continue, to experience a lot of growth without having to, ramp up the team a lot with that growth.
Yeah. And I think this is actually something worth digging into a little bit more, is what you just said about the customers actually wanting this self-service. And Saucy, the nature of your business, I assume your audience or your customers skew on the younger side, but is that like a correct assumption?
I mean, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. It's funny because I think a lot of our discussions, there is a fear around offering any kind of automated solution or chat solution. So I'm curious, you're saying your customers obviously want that. Is that coming directly from feedback you're that you've talked about, kind of that NPS through different tactics or like automations you're using? I'm curious if you have any insights there. Because that's definitely something we believe, that customers want this, but can be a tough sell sometimes.
Yeah, I mean, our CS team is great. Honestly, it's like the best team I've ever worked with, and I'm super, super proud of them and the work they do. So, we do sometimes see, customers specifically state that, but it's more something that of as a customer, and being, so customer focused yourself. That, customers at the end of the day, they just want their problem solved as quick as possible. With as little bumps in the road as possible. So yeah, sometimes customers will mention that in some of our feedback surveys, but a lot of it is just observational and kind of knowing our customer as well.
Yeah. And like I said, going back to quick resolution, nothing makes me happier than something that is resolved quickly without pain. So definitely aligned there. And one final bigger question, see if you have any follow-ups after this, but to date, can you maybe give the audience a few tactics or decisions you've made that have really stood out at your time at Saucy, that have really increased your team efficiency or positively impacted the quality of care you guys are delivering to your customers?
Yeah, definitely. So let's see, some big things that we've done to really, be more efficient as a customer service team. Improved our help center. So our help center, if you don't know what that is, that's, saucy.com. You go to help, and you'll have, articles on how you can place an order, or different things. So customers can, just kind of search through that help page and find what they need, hopefully there. If not, there's a form to contact customer service. So really building that up, making sure we have articles that are useful, up to date, is really important. It's really easy to let those things kind of slide sometimes.
I'm curious if that's something the customer service team owns, or is there
our customer service team does own that. Yeah, it's our leadership in customer service, but yeah, that's all us, baby.
That makes sense. Yeah, I've seen it in some others, but just wanted to clarify. Thank you.
Yeah. And then, chat bots, shout out Zowie. We onboarded with you guys and have, couldn't be happier with the results we've seen so far. Just with the number of tickets Zowie is able to resolve, as well as just working with you guys. You guys are great. But, not to, talk about you guys too much. But you guys, Zowie has been really, really helpful to kind of, deflect some of those cases. So, silly little questions that really you don't need an agent for. Zowie is able to handle that and more complex stuff. And then, like I already mentioned, by far, probably the best method that, every company should be doing is just listening to your customers. Just taking the feedback, making sure you're collecting the feedback, and you're not only just like, reading it, but really acting on it. Because if your customers are giving you that feedback, they're giving it for a reason. So feedback they provide, and then the case reasons. Make sure you're looking at your tickets, you're looking at what customers are reaching out about, and, kind of optimizing where you can.
Amazing. And thank you for the kind words. But I think everything you touched on there is I think pretty universally teams can adapt and figure out a way to implement a lot of these strategies and tactics that you're talking about.
Yeah, some of it sounds like obvious, but it's, some of the obvious stuff gets overlooked.
Yeah. Well, I'm gonna ask you one more question. I promise to try to trip you up once, but looking ahead to next year, crazy that the year is almost over, heading into the busy season. I'm curious, as obviously this is your life. Are there any big trends you see going into customer care in 2023, or any wish list items you'd love to see a tech provider provide, or heading into next year they think could really help just customer care, the space in general, take that next step forward? Always curious to ask that question of leaders like yourself.
Yeah. I mean, it's hard for me to get out of my own little box
Yeah.
of what
I
I've
think
been
people are
focusing
interested to hear about people's other little boxes, right?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I think it just goes back to, as a customer, as quick and easy as possible. If you're going to make it difficult for me, I don't want any part of it. Or if I do, and I'm going to, kind of fight you to get what I need, then I'm not going to be happy, and I'm probably not coming back. So, whatever companies can do to kind of make those processes easy for the customer is, something that we should be doing.
Yeah, that is always, I think, the goal and what these teams are striving for. Well, we'll wrap here. That was my last question. We do have a question from the audience we can throw your way.
Sure.
And I think going back, it's about the internal QAs you discussed, which I think is obviously hugely important and something every team should be doing. What are just the areas of focus that you assess during those? What are you actually looking for during that process?
Definitely. A lot of things. We QA the team on basically their job duties. But I'm going to talk about looking at the CS tickets particularly.
Yeah.
When we're pulling CS tickets, we're looking at things like, we have little categories that you get a point for each. Solution engagement, was the solution you provided to the customer accurate? Tone, was your tone in the kind of saucy way? Because we try to keep it kind of fun. Were you fun, friendly?
Yeah.
Tone, grammar. Make sure you're not have a bunch of spelling errors or grammatical errors. And then I know timeliness is one. I'm sure I'm missing some, but basically, just hitting a bunch of different points. That way it's a well-rounded kind of QA ticket. You don't want to just focus on one thing, because if you're just focusing on was the content you gave correct, which is great. You want the context, the context to be correct, that you're, the solution to be correct that you're providing the customer with. But you don't want to, have a bunch of spelling errors or stuff. So you'll, when you make your QA, if you are missing something, when you start QAing, you're going to notice you need to add another category. So you're like, okay, well, we're going to add this too, so we can kind of score you on that. Yeah. But that's what's great about QA, because if you're not doing it currently, just get something down. Just get a few points that you can think of on the top of your head, get a quick sheet down, and you can adapt it and grow it kind of as you continue to do it. And you can see what everything you need is. And like I said, no matter what, if you don't have a bunch of categories, if it's just a couple categories, giving that, agent the feedback, is super, super valuable. And you can kind of continue to grow it. And this isn't just CS, every team needs QA.
Yeah. I was gonna say, it sounds like actionable advice for any manager, but specifically, I like bringing it to the CS side of things. And I think that I don't know, just even if you don't have it, just start doing it. And I think it'll become clear what you need to think about.
Yeah, totally.
Awesome. Well, we are at the end of our time. So Wendy, I just want to thank you so much for joining me today and answering the questions. I think what you shared with the audience was hugely insightful, and hopefully everyone took away at least one or two things that can help them deliver great care at highly efficient rates. So thank you so much.
Awesome. Thanks so much for having me.
Okay. Take care. Bye.
All right. Bye.